Welcome back to Dubbzi Bricks for another episode of building the Tantive in Lego. In the last update, I mentioned that I was considering changing the way that I construct the lower level of the build. At the moment, this is upside down, and we have the starter pointing this way, and as of that part there, the starter point downwards as well. So these two parts here are just resting on top of each other, and it's forced together using a 4-long Technic beam. And it seems to be really sturdy. However, I have realised that the way that I'm building this, I could get away with all the studs being in one direction and it will have a lot more strength. So that is something that I've decided I am going to go over to changing. And one other thing I have to decide is the engines. Am I going to keep it the same technique as I've got at the moment? And the reason I'm having doubts about this, really happy with the strength of it. The centre ones, they're not sagging at all. The end ones are, but that's more to do with the structural side here, which isn't fully connected yet. But the problem I've got is the length from here to here is just about going to fit through the door to this room. As soon as I add the end parts on here, it's not going to fit through the door, and I won't be able to take this to exhibitions. I can't stand it upright. Again, it's going to be too big. Width-wise, again, too big. So I need to work out whether or not there's a way that I can have this section here as one part of the build and the engines just slide in to there. So what I'm thinking about is if I had a square hole in the wall here, I could just slide it into there. So I'd modify the design of this part here, and I could possibly put some beams on there which will then stop the engines from wanting to tilt up. So it could potentially have the same strength in there. At the moment, I've got numerous Technic beams in here which are helping to stop it from sagging down at the back. So again, it's just something I need to think about. It's really annoying. When I was building this, I thought, yeah, that's going to fit through the door, no problem at all. And it was only today when I was walking through the door, I thought, actually, this door is narrower than what I thought it was. So yeah, it's just something I need to double check. I could potentially just not add the last cylinder bit around the very end of the engines and have those so they just clip on. However, it would be nice for me to be able to put this into a box for transportation purposes in the Lego room. So I can just carry the box out of the Lego room rather than carry this out and risk dropping it while getting through the doorway and down the steps, etc., out of the garage. So yeah, just need to have a good think about it and make sure that we go down the right route. Now is the perfect time to make any amendments, as I'm going to be doing the bottom engines. Although this was originally the bottom of the ship, I'm going to be starting the bottom again and this will be the top. Yeah, now's the time to do it. Without further ado, let's start the display stand. Let's work out how big I'm going to make the new display stand, as I'm going to change that as well. This is going to have larger feet on it, and we'll make a decision about the engines a little bit later. And here we have the start of the display stand for the engine section of the vessel, and it's very strong. Got these Technic beams, 4 of them throughout the build, and they're actually going all the way through to the very base here. So on the bottom layer of plates is a Technic brick, and it's connected all the way through. So everything's compressed together. There are Technic bricks in here as well, with axles going through, connected to the beam. So there's no reason at all why any of this should break. But I have, just to be on the safe side, put some snot bricks on the side here, which I'll plate together. And again, that will just compress the whole thing together. So there should be no problems at all. Now, height-wise, I think I got it right. I've been using the build here. So I've measured from this point here up to here. Then allowed another 4 or 5 bricks. So up to around about this section just here is where this part here will be. So it should give me plenty of room on there. Now, the original stand I have on this section just here of the vessel that I made previously, I may adjust the length of that. And again, it's such a simple thing. I need to move one of the legs anyway, so I'll just sort that all out at the same time. Now, one question I get asked a lot is, how much does this build weigh? Now, I've got no idea of the weight of this section just here, let alone the part that's over the back there. Excuse the mess. But to give you an idea, this section here, we've got the scales out already for you, and this does weigh quite a lot. So just popping this on the scales, the display stand alone weighs over 3.5 kilos. So yeah, 3.5 kilos just for the stand. The next thing I need to do is turn this build upside down and remove this framework from the bottom of the build And then what I need to do is attach it to the display stand that we've made here. And then once we've done that, I can start making these sections just here on the bottom of the build. So yeah, it's quite a lot of work that's going to be done here, but I'm hoping by the time we've got it done, we're going to see such a difference in the build. I've just started making the engine housings for the engines which are going on the bottom, and as you can see, I've turned the build upside down. It's a lot easier to build this way, and what I've decided to do is put some Technic beams into the actual engine mount. So they're going to be attached to the actual framework here, and I'm going to keep on attaching them so that it's actually on the bottom, or works out at the bottom of this engine housing. That's keeping all of the bricks compressed, and that way it doesn't matter how heavy this section gets here, it's not going to want to fall away from the plates. Now what I need to do now is just work out whether or not I'm going to be sticking with my original engine design, which we've got just here, where it's attached to the actual framework, or whether or not I am actually going to find a way of having it so I can actually remove the engines in and out of the actual housing here to make it that much easier for transporting. As I mentioned, at the moment I won't be able to get this build out of the room, which obviously I need to do so in order to take it to a convention. So yeah, we're just going to start experimenting with the engines, and once we've done that, I'll come back and carry on building the engine housing. And that's the last 4 engines all built up, or the framework for them, should I say. And with these ones, I've gone from slightly different, as I mentioned before. And this part here, I'm going to tile off. So I've made this bit really strong, and that's going to slide into the actual engine housing itself. So it'll just be this bit overhanging. Now, I'm hoping that it's all going to stay in place, stay attached. There's going to be some beams that are going to go across the top here to stop it from moving up and down. So that's going to keep it nice and firmly there. But it's just the sliding out from the back. There's no reason whatsoever why they should. If I tilt the ship back, then obviously gravity will pull them out. But where it's just going to be completely horizontal, there's no reason at all that there should be a problem. I was considering having something at the front there. They're attached to the actual housing, but again, it's getting my hand inside the housing to connect and disconnect. I want to try and avoid that sort of thing if I can. I want to have it so this is an easy mock to put together at conventions. Now the brackets on the side here, I'm going to plate along that, and that's to give it some extra strength to stop it tilting a little bit. So yeah, it should all work out well. I'm pretty confident with the design that I've gone for on here. But now we've got these 4 all made up, I'm going to turn my attention back to making up the housing unit just here, so we can then experiment with sliding them in. And that's the first engine all in place of the new design, and really pleased with how it's coming along. It seems to be working absolutely fine. There's not much movement on this, so I think the fact that these bricks here are up against the wall and the same there, that stops it from tilting a little bit. But the fact that it's in so far as well is meaning that we haven't got any problems with that. Now with this, I can bring this out here and it's still not dropping that much at all, so that's all good. And the way we've gone about it is I've tiled the bottom of this section just here. This part in here is tiled as well, so it's nice and smooth all the way in. Now there are some positives with this design and there are some negatives. The positives are that we can now remove the engines and we haven't got the problem of getting this through doorways. We can now do that no problem at all. Inside here you can get a better idea of the structural side of it. So these Technic beams here are going down obviously to keep everything compressed together. These again, there's just Technic beams all over the place, just keeping it all connected to the framework. There's going to be higher up on the engine because this is obviously upside down, so it's going to stop this whole section from just dropping off of the build. Now that is one of the things, one of the negatives with doing it this way. This is so much heavier. This part in here has got so many pieces in compared with before, so it is a lot more part intensive. The next problem we've got with doing it this way as well, and I don't know why I didn't think about this, and I'm really kicking myself, is the display stand is smack bang in the middle of where I need to put the next channel for the engine to go into. I needed to have brought it over this way, and on that one that way, by probably about another 4 bricks. So I've now got to amend that. It's not too big a deal, because what I'll do is I'll flip this upside down, or flip out the correct way, and then just disconnect it from the framework, break this section here so they're separate legs, move them over, rebuild it up in the center, clip it back onto the framework, and away we go. So it's not a big deal, but yeah, just annoyed that I didn't think about that in the first place. So anyway, what we're going to do now is I'm going to flip it upside down, move the legs, correct that section. And then once I've done so, I'll make a start on doing the next one. Now, one thing I am realising, as I do in most of my mocks, is I'm getting very low on pieces. I'm just getting through them like nobody's business. But I knew this was going to be a very part intensive build, especially these engine sections. So fingers crossed we've got enough to get all 11 engines all in place. And I thought I'd just show you how easy it is to amend the legs on here. As you can see, I've actually put some boxes just down the bottom here and propped this section up, as it's so heavy at the moment, and I need the supports that be coming up from here to the actual centre section there to help support it. But when we come over to the actual legs themselves, now they're just attached by a couple of pins. Now gravity is doing the majority of this. So obviously this is framework is being pulled down, or will be pulled down, by the weight of the engines underneath. But just to keep everything in place, there are 4 pins on the 4 legs, so we just need to pop those out. So once I pull them out like so, and do the other 2. Now this part here is not connected to the legs at all, so I'll just be able to lift that off. And yeah, first of all I need to just dismantle the part between the 2 legs. Once I've done so, I'll just move these plates so that these beams are now connected up to a different brick. So I'll be coming the other side of this Technic beam just here. And then that's it, job done, simple as that. So fingers crossed, we'll get that all sorted, and then we can finally make a start on the 2 centre engines on the bottom part. And I was just about to connect the leg into place, and I've got it over to the right spot. It's exactly where it needs to be. And I realise the engine is actually going to slide against this wall. Now, this is a positive, as it means that I can... These bricks here are going to be used for 2 things. One, for supporting the leg, but secondly, I won't have to build a second wall up inside the engine housing like I did on this one. Now what I will need to do is bring a plate out here somewhere, which I can then tile on top of so the engine can sit on that. So what I need to do now is just remove this framework from the top here before I connect it all together, put the plate in there, and then we can start building all around it. So yeah, a little bit more complex than I was originally hoping, but at least we know we can do it, and we found a solution. And that's 3 of the 4 engine housings all built in place, and it is super strong. I'm really happy with how much strength we got in there. As you can see, there's some Technic bricks at the top here, and that's the weight of this section here is pulling against that brick, so it's all compressing it nicely together. There's loads of Technic beams inside the housing as well, so fingers crossed, as mentioned, we won't have any problems with that. Now at the moment this one here is hanging down just a fraction, and that's due to purely the amount of weight on there. It's only 1 Technic brick at the moment that's holding that all in place. Once I put some beams coming this way at an angle, it's going to be almost like the strength of a bridge. I started filling these Technic bricks in here as well, so when I start doing the next level up, I'm going to be plating on top of this again, just to help with all of the strength on there. And I think I'm going to try and get a little bit more strength into the framework that's going above here than what I had previously. I think a few more Technic beams going down would be absolutely perfect and ideal to have on there. And that's all 4 lower engine mounts all built into place and ready to go. What I'm going to do now is start building the structure up on the top here, so I can then get some Technic beams pulling these 2 engines at the side up. Then hopefully it's going to give me a good idea of the structural side of that. At the moment, due to the weight that's happening from the 2 engines here, it is putting a little bit of strain on the centre, so it is having a little bit of a knock-on effect. So if I can get that sorted, that would be really good. And as I said, I want to put some additional strength along the centre part just there as well. But so nice getting to this stage here, and then we can start transferring this section over onto here. Now I'm really happy with this new design of the engines on here. As I mentioned before, it's going to enable me to dismantle this into smaller pieces to take to conventions. So I will be modifying those engines up there. It shouldn't be too big a job, so I just need to modify the front part, so hopefully it'll be quite a quick fix. But anyway, let's make a start on the centre structure there, and I'll check back in once we've done so. And here is our first attempt at supporting the outer engines, and it's coming along quite nicely. If we bring ourselves over to this side of the ship, This is an 8 stud wide plate and brick, and as you can see, it won't fit in there. It's just a fraction out, and that's because this part here is hanging down due to the weight. However, on this side here, we can get it in there, no problem at all. So that's all good. It's pulled it up enough for that. The only problem I have got is this angle here, I think is just a fraction too steep. I want to try and get it so it's at the 33-degree slope, which is the equivalent of these wedge pieces just here. That'll make it the same as what you see on the playset. So what I'm going to do, I think I might move this wall back by 1 stud if possible, and lower it down by a brick and see if that helps. But yeah, it's nice to know we're on the right track. The more I build across here, the stronger this is going to get. And I need to make sure that I've got all of the strength on the front section just here, as this slope doesn't go all the way to the back. Hopefully it will all work out well, but we'll just have to wait and see how it all comes together. And really happy how this is coming along. Got the right angle on here now, so it's at the 33-degree angle or pretty close to it, so that's all good. And as you can see, I've plated this section off, started the brickwork along here, and that's helping with the whole strength of this, pulling that engine up to the correct position. I will continue the framework all the way along here, as I mentioned before, so that should be pretty straightforward, and it will help with it. Now with the center engines, I just need to be careful that I don't build too far back, as obviously I need to make sure I can slide the engines all the way in when we get to the center ones. So yeah, just need to make sure I look at that before I go much further. Now with the front section here, I'm not sure what details have to go on here, so I need to have a really good study of the cross section book, because it's got some really good images in there, so I'm going to be using that to get as much detail as possible, as accurate as possible on here, and I'm really looking forward to that part. There's so much intricate detail. I think it's going to be really cool to add that to the build. Now the changes that I've made on this section here compared to the original one we've got over here is massive. There's so many more bricks that are going into this. With the tunnels that the engines are sliding in, I've actually run out of filler brick. Surprise, surprise. I keep on thinking I'm never going to have to buy any more filler brick, and then something crops up and we have to buy more. So yeah, we're going to have to get another couple of boxes, I reckon, of the 4x1 bricks, and some more plates as well. I'm getting very low on 2x8, 2x6 and 1x4 and 1x6 plates. So again, another trip to the Lego store is required. But anyway, let's swing this round and put all the engines in and show you how it looks. And here we have the 4 engines all in place, and we're going to need to do some serious work with the structural side of this. Although the front is absolutely fine, at the back here you can see it's a lot narrower at the bottom there, and that's because it is pulling it down. And the problem I've got at the back here, what I need to get around, is you don't have that slope, which is obviously helping to pull that front section up. So yeah, I just need to work out how I'm going to go about doing that. If all else fails, then I'll just have to bridge something in between here, which then push the 2 parts, or push the 2 sections apart. But I don't really want to do that if I can help it. But yeah, that is an option should all else fail. But yeah, I mean, look at that side, how much that is dipping there, how much strain is being put on the Technic bricks there. But there is only a couple of Technic bricks on this, so it's no surprise it is drooping as much as it is. And these are really simple, they just slide out as simple as anything. But the display stand, that's working absolutely perfect. It's so well balanced. But yeah, really happy what we've managed to get done in this update. It has been very it's been very time consuming, all of the redesign we've done with this, but I think it was definitely the right way to go about it, as now I know for certain I am going to be able to take this to a convention. I'll be able to get this section out of the door, no problem at all, whereas previously that part there was never going to make it. Anyway, that's all we have time for. I hope you've enjoyed the update. If you have, please remember to give us a big thumbs up. If you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to the channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any future content on the channel. And if you know anybody else you think would be interested in building the Tantive in Lego, if you could share the channel with them, it'd be much appreciated. I've also started doing memberships, so you can find information about that on the homepage. These mocks are very expensive, so any memberships really do help with the build of these projects. Thanks for watching, bye, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.